Have you ever noticed that when you pull back, give him space, or even go silent for a while, he suddenly seems more attentive, more eager, more present than ever? It's like your absence creates a magnetic pull he can't resist. He starts calling more often, texting more consistently, and remembering the little details he seemed to overlook before. It's a paradox that many of us have experienced, yet few truly understand. We're often taught that love requires constant presence and unwavering attention. But what if the opposite were also true? What if the space between two people is what allows desire to breathe and grow? At Love Threads, we don't just talk about relationships, we deconstruct them. We blend authentic, grounded insights with robust, evidence-based psychology, giving you the real intelligence on why we connect, why we sometimes misstep, and how to truly thrive when love feels like a constantly shifting landscape. Tonight, we're diving deep into the powerful and often misunderstood dynamic of absence. This isn't about playing manipulative games. It's about understanding the fundamental wiring of the human brain and the emotional needs that drive us. We'll explore the neuroscience of desire, the psychological blueprints of attachment, and how unresolved family patterns can influence our need for proximity. Tonight, we're uncovering the science, psychology, and subtle forces behind why absence can intensify attraction, and how understanding this can help you navigate love without losing yourself. Join us as we unravel this delicate thread, one absence at a time, to reveal a more balanced and authentic way of loving. The dilemma, the paradox of presence. We're often taught that love thrives on proximity, on the relentless pursuit of togetherness. We believe that to be loved, we must be seen, heard, and constantly available. This can create a deep fear of being forgotten or replaced, pushing us to constantly seek reassurance through our presence. But what happens when that desire for closeness crosses an invisible line, turning into a silent surveillance, a secret hunt for validation that only breeds more doubt? What if the constant presence we believe is necessary for connection is actually suffocating it, slowly killing the very desire we are trying so hard to protect? Imagine a woman named Maya, a deeply empathetic and giving soul. She's been in a relationship where she feels like she's doing all the work. She's the one initiating conversations, planning dates, and keeping the emotional engine running. She's the emotional heartbeat, a role she's played in many relationships and in her family for as long as she can remember. She loves him, but she also feels a quiet resentment building, a sense of being taken for granted. He seems to exist in a state of comfortable passivity, simply receiving her energy without a reciprocal effort. So, one day, she decides to take a step back, not as a game, but as a silent act of self-preservation. She stops texting first. She declines a couple of invitations to go out. She fills her life with other things: a new yoga class, a long-neglected passion project, a weekend trip with friends. At first, she feels a pang of anxiety, a fear that he'll simply forget about her. Her nervous system, so accustomed to the familiar dance of anxious pursuit, sends a jolt of panic through her. But she holds her ground. And something unexpected happens. He starts to reach out. He calls her, not just to make plans, but to talk. He asks her about her day and seems genuinely interested, as if seeing her for the first time. He even mentions a small detail from a conversation they had weeks ago, something he thought he'd completely forgotten. Her absence didn't create a chasm, it created a space for him to miss her, and in that missing, to truly see her. This is the paradox of absence. What we might fear will weaken attachment often strengthens it. It's a fundamental principle of human psychology that scarcity increases perceived value. When something or someone is always available, our brains become accustomed to its presence, taking it for granted. The neurochemical pathways for desire and reward grow dormant. But when that presence is withdrawn, even subtly, our brain interprets the distance as a subtle loss signal. This triggers a powerful neurological response, a cascade of desire and craving, as the brain's dopamine system is activated by the pursuit of a perceived reward. It's like a flame growing brighter in the dark, representing how absence can intensify emotional focus. This isn't a manipulation tactic. It's a natural psychological phenomenon that we can either use to our detriment or harness for our own emotional growth. It's an opportunity to rebuild a relationship on a foundation of conscious effort and mutual respect, rather than one of unconscious expectation. Anecdotal threads, the archetypes of absence. Maya's story deepens as we delve into the archetypal narratives that illustrate this dilemma. The first time she went quiet, he seemed indifferent, perhaps a bit confused. The silence was a foreign language to him, a gap in the constant flow of connection he had grown to expect. He wasn't malicious, he was simply unconscious of his reliance on her energy. But over the next few days, subtle shifts began to appear. He remembered the little details, the things that truly mattered to her. The specific way she liked her coffee, a quirky joke from weeks ago, and reached out in ways that mirrored genuine care, as if he had suddenly recognized her value. This isn't just a simple story. It's a timeless pattern that speaks to deeper archetypes within us all, a narrative woven into the fabric of human connection. The relational pull that the seeker fuels and the responsive pull from him are not random events. They are part of an unseen, energetic agreement designed to teach them both a fundamental lesson about autonomy and self-worth. Her absence is a call to her own sovereignty, a powerful declaration that her energy is not an infinite resource to be consumed without thought. It's a statement that her well-being is not up for negotiation. When she pulls back, she is honoring her side of the contract, which is to value herself first. This then forces him to honor his side of the contract, to see her value, not just take it for granted, and to actively seek her out. The story of the anima animus, when the seeker, as the anima figure, withdraws her energy, she is no longer projecting the idealized image of the nurturing, all-giving partner. She is reclaiming the feminine energy she had previously outsourced to the relationship. This forces him to confront his own internal animus, his own inner masculine, and to seek out a more complete, integrated version of her. He is no longer relating to a fantasy, but to a real, complex, and autonomous individual. Her absence creates the necessary space for him to see her as a whole person, not just a role he has unconsciously assigned her. It's a painful but necessary process of individuation for both of them, a journey toward becoming more fully themselves. Now, consider the architect. His emotional life is like a blueprint. Everything has a place, and anything that threatens the structure is a risk. He may not text you all day, not because he doesn't care, but because he's deeply engaged in his work. He's in a state of flow, and his nervous system is calm. His absence is a byproduct of his need for control and independence. But when his partner creates a genuine space for herself, a subtle alarm goes off in his system. He's not afraid of abandonment in the same way the seeker is. He's afraid of losing a valuable resource, a predictable, stable presence that allows him to build his world without distraction. Her absence creates a quiet, logical pursuit. He suddenly becomes more intentional in his outreach, not out of a deep emotional craving, but to reestablish the equilibrium of their connection, to ensure the relationship is still a secure part of his life's architecture. Finally, we have the giver. Her love is a constant stream of nurturing energy. She plans the dates, remembers the anniversaries, and is the emotional anchor of the relationship. Her absence, therefore, is not a strategy, it's a symptom of burnout. It's the result of her feeling that her emotional bank account is empty. When she stops giving, she is, for the first time, giving to herself. This act of self-care is a profound statement. It forces her partner to see that the wellspring of love is not infinite, and that he must now contribute to it. Her withdrawal is an invitation for him to show up in a way he hasn't before. It forces him to confront his own passive role in the relationship, and to honor his side of the implicit contract. The story of the merger is perhaps the most difficult to unravel. This archetype operates from a deep-seated belief that love requires the complete eradication of individual boundaries. Their self-worth is entirely tied to the state of the relationship. Their partner's presence is the very air they breathe. Their absence feels like suffocation. When their partner takes space, the merger is confronted with a terrifying void, the space where their own identity should be. The magnetic pole of absence in this case is not just about missing the other person, it is about a primal, desperate need to be made whole again. Their pursuit is less about love and more about a frantic search for their lost self. The ultimate lesson here is that desire thrives on tension, novelty, and autonomy. When we are always present, the tension is lost, the novelty fades, and our autonomy can feel compromised. Absence, however, can create this tension, activating a powerful desire loop. It creates a space for the imagination to run wild, for memories to be replayed with a newfound significance, and for the feeling of "I miss you" to take root. It's a reminder that a healthy relationship is not about merging into a single entity, but about two separate, autonomous individuals choosing to come together in a dance of connection and space. The invisible threads, a psychological deep dive. Why does absence have such a powerful effect? The answer lies in the invisible threads that connect us. Threads of attachment, neuroscience, and deep-seated family patterns that operate far below our conscious awareness. This isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a complex interplay of biology and psychology that dictates how we respond to the space between ourselves and those we love. Attachment dynamics, the wiring of our hearts. Our earliest relationships with primary caregivers create a blueprint for how we relate to others in adulthood. This is the foundation of adult attachment theory. This theory posits that the emotional bonds we form in infancy and childhood don't simply vanish. They become the operating system for our adult relationships. They are the unconscious scripts we follow, dictating our needs for intimacy, our fears of abandonment, and our behaviors in moments of conflict or separation. The way our caregivers responded to our cries, our needs, and our joy wired our nervous systems for one of three core patterns: secure, anxious preoccupied, or avoidant. For individuals with an anxious preoccupied attachment style, distance or absence can be a major trigger. This style often develops from inconsistent caregiving in childhood, where a parent's love felt unpredictable, sometimes available, sometimes withdrawn. The child, desperate for connection, learns to be hyper-vigilant, constantly scanning for signs of love or rejection. As adults, this translates into a constant need for reassurance and proximity. When a partner pulls back, it doesn't just feel like a minor inconvenience. It triggers their deepest fears of abandonment, a primal terror of being left alone. Their nervous system goes into a state of high alert, flooding their body with cortisol and adrenaline, causing them to pursue with heightened intensity. They might text more, call more, or become more demonstrative in their affection, driven by a primal need to reestablish closeness and soothe the profound anxiety that has been activated. The silence is not just silence. It is the echoing of a childhood fear they are desperately trying to outrun. Their partner's absence is a mirror reflecting their deepest wound, the fear that if they aren't constantly vigilant, they will be forgotten. On the other hand, for someone with an avoidant attachment style, absence can also trigger pursuit behaviors, but for a very different reason. The avoidant individual values independence above all else and often feels suffocated by too much intimacy. They are typically the ones who pull back first, creating emotional and physical distance to regulate their own discomfort with vulnerability. They learned in childhood that their needs were not met consistently, and that relying on others was a path to disappointment. As a result, they developed a powerful sense of self-sufficiency. However, When their partner creates intentional space and they are faced with the genuine possibility of loss, their brain interprets this absence as a significant risk to their predictable world. It's not about their fear of abandonment, but about the fear of losing a valuable resource, the stable presence of a partner who, despite their perceived need for space, provides a sense of security. The avoidant partner might suddenly become more attentive and engaging, not out of a deep-seated desire for connection, but to re-establish control and ensure the relationship remains a safe, predictable presence in their life. As Dr. Stan Tatkin's work on attachment shows, our wired-for-love brains are designed to react to perceived threats to our bonds. Absence, even if created by ourselves, can become a powerful signal of a threat to the relationship, compelling us to act to restore the equilibrium. Neuroscience of desire, the dopamine rush. Beyond the psychological wiring of attachment, our desire is also a matter of chemistry and biology. The brain, our most powerful organ, is a complex machine of rewards and aversions. Scarcity activates the brain's dopamine circuit, the same reward circuit that is triggered by drugs, gambling, and other addictive behaviors. This isn't just a metaphor. It's a literal neurochemical process. When a partner's presence becomes less certain, the brain's dopamine system lights up, enhancing anticipation and excitement. The brain, seeking its next hit of connection, starts to crave the absent partner, making them seem more desirable and essential. The chase itself becomes an addictive game. When the missing partner does return, the brain is flooded with dopamine, reinforcing the idea that their presence is a reward. This makes the pursuit, the act of winning them back, more rewarding in the future, solidifying the cycle. The thrill of the chase, the relief of their return, and the subsequent reward all work together to make absence a potent catalyst for desire. The neurological roots of this are even deeper. Our limbic system, the primitive emotion processing part of our brain, is constantly scanning the environment for safety and connection. When a bond is threatened, even subtly by a partner's absence, the limbic system perceives it as a threat. It releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which put us on high alert. This is the physiological basis of the anxiety we feel when a partner is distant. The goal of this stress response is to compel us to take action to restore the connection, whether through pursuit, anxious, or by re-engaging to maintain control. Our brains are built to synchronize with those we are close to. We literally tune into our partner's emotional state. This is how we feel their joy or their sadness without words. When a partner becomes absent, this resonance is broken. The brain experiences a kind of emotional static, a disconnection that it instinctively wants to fix. The longing for a partner is not just emotional. It's a neurobiological drive to restore that limbic connection, that feeling of being in sync. This is amplified by mirror neurons, which are brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we see someone else perform the same action. When a partner is present, our mirror neurons fire in sync with them, strengthening our bond. When they are absent, that mirroring is gone, creating an unconscious desire to re-engage to find that lost connection again. For an even deeper explanation, we turn to family constellations, a therapeutic approach that suggests we carry the unresolved traumas and unconscious loyalties of our family systems. We are not just individuals, we are part of a larger system, and our relationships are the stage on which these ancestral dramas are replayed. The fear of being left, a fear inherited from our family system, can cause us to pursue with an intensity that is disproportionate to the current situation. We are not just responding to our partner's absence, we are responding to the shadowed figures of our past, the echoes of a childhood where we had to fight for attention or love. For example, imagine a man whose grandfather was a distant, emotionally closed-off figure. The man's father, as a boy, unconsciously took on the family's burden of emotional stoicism, believing that to be loved meant to be self-sufficient. This pattern, this loyalty to the unseen burden of emotional distance, is passed down. In his own adult relationships, this man might become the architect, mirroring his father's distance in an attempt to protect himself from the pain of being ignored. He creates space not out of malice, but out of a deep-seated fear of being hurt. When his partner, weary of his emotional distance, creates space for herself, it triggers his deep, unconscious fear of loss. Suddenly, his brain is activated, and he begins to pursue her with an urgency he doesn't fully understand. He is not just chasing her, he is chasing the love and attention he never received from his father. The absence of his partner is an echo of the emotional void he experienced as a child, and his pursuit is a desperate attempt to fill that void. Similarly, consider a woman whose mother was often ill and emotionally unavailable. This woman may have become the family's primary caretaker, constantly seeking to soothe and please her mother to receive a fleeting moment of approval. In her adult relationships, she might become the giver, a person who believes she must constantly be in service to the relationship to ensure her partner's presence. When he pulls back, even for a moment, her nervous system is hijacked by a primal fear. She is not just worried about losing him, she is experiencing a re-traumatization of the fear of losing her mother's love and approval. Her pursuit is not a conscious choice. It is an unconscious act of survival, a desperate attempt to recreate the feeling of being needed and loved. The intimacy versus isolation stage of development. The way we navigate this stage is deeply influenced by our earliest experiences. If we did not develop a secure sense of self, we may find ourselves seeking validation through constant intimacy, or conversely, retreating into isolation to protect ourselves. The magnetic pull of absence is not a simple phenomenon. It is a complex dance of unconscious loyalties, generational traumas, and emotional blueprints that are passed down from one generation to the next. Let's also briefly consider the impact of modern technology on these patterns. In a world of social media, dating apps, and constant connectivity, we're taught to believe that our partner's presence is just a tap away. This creates a false sense of security and makes the smallest periods of absence feel like a major threat. A delay in a text response can trigger the same primal fear of abandonment that an inconsistent caregiver once did. This digital dimension amplifies our emotional triggers, making the act of creating space and the subsequent reaction more intense than ever. The key to harnessing the power of absence is to understand the difference between intentional absence and passive withdrawal. The former is a conscious choice rooted in self-respect, while the latter is often a fearful reaction driven by a desire to test a partner's feelings or manipulate a response. Intentional absence is not a game. It is a profound act of self-love that ultimately enhances the health and vitality of a relationship by creating a new, healthier dynamic. It's a bold step toward reclaiming your personal power and teaching others how to value you. This is an act of radical self-sovereignty. It's about building a life so rich and so full that your partner's presence becomes an addition, not a necessity for your happiness. It's no longer about a game of pursuit. It's about a dance of two whole, autonomous souls choosing to come together. You are the architect of your own joy, and the most magnetic thing you can do is to become your own source of light. This is a subtle but crucial shift in mindset. Instead of focusing on what you're losing by pulling back, you're focusing on what you're gaining, a deeper connection with yourself. It's about trading the anxiety of constant presence for the peace of intentional absence. This isn't about ignoring his calls or texts out of spite, but about being genuinely engaged in your own life and responding to him from a place of fullness, not neediness. Practical steps to cultivating conscious space. The pause and presence exercise. When you feel the familiar urge to text first, to check his social media, or to fill the silence, pause. Don't act on the impulse. Take 3 deep, slow breaths. As you exhale, imagine releasing the need to control the outcome. Remind yourself, my worth is not on the line here. My self-worth is inherent. This simple act retrains your nervous system to respond from a place of calm, not panic. 2. Mapping your needs. Grab a journal. Create 2 columns. In the first, write down all the ways you feel you've been overgiving in your relationships. In the second, list 3 things you can do this week that would truly fill your own cup. For the giver, this might be turning off your phone for a full hour to read, or taking a solo walk. For the seeker, it might be reaching out to a friend you haven't seen in a while to focus on building a separate support system. This exercise helps you redirect your energy from a state of neediness to a state of self-nurturing. 3. The inner compass. Your intuition is a powerful guide. When you feel the pull to chase, ask your inner compass, am I doing this to get a specific response, or am I doing this because it genuinely feels right for me? The answer is your guide. If the motivation is rooted in fear, frustration, or a need for external validation, the most loving action is to wait. 4. Rewrite the story. Borrowing from neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, we know that our internal dialogue shapes our reality. When you catch yourself thinking, he's not contacting me, he must be losing interest, immediately reframe it. A new thought might be, he's doing his own thing right now, and I am choosing to do mine. I trust in my value and in the authenticity of our connection. This simple reframing creates new neural pathways and breaks the cycle of negative self-talk. 5. The energetic boundary exercise. Take a moment to sit quietly, imagine a gentle, luminous boundary of energy around you. It's a sacred space that belongs only to you. Visualize your partner's energy outside of it. Notice how it feels to have your own space. Now, visualize inviting their energy into that space, a gentle merging, but a merging you can control. This exercise teaches your subconscious mind that connection is a conscious choice, not a fearful fusion. 6. Communicating your needs with nonviolent communication. Instead of waiting for absence to do the work, you can use intentional language to express your needs. When you feel the need for space, instead of saying, I need to get away from you, you can say, I feel overwhelmed when my schedule is so full, and I need a night to myself to recharge. I would love to connect with you tomorrow night. This approach transforms a painful withdrawal into an open, honest conversation. This is a journey of self-differentiation, a psychological concept that describes the ability to maintain a strong sense of self while remaining emotionally connected to others. It's about being a secure, self-aware individual who can love deeply without losing herself in the process. This is not just a change in a relationship, it is a fundamental shift in how you relate to yourself, a powerful transformation that will ripple through every area of your life. The absence, in this context, becomes a catalyst for profound personal growth. The real magic isn't in him chasing you. It's in you rediscovering the self he fell in love with in the first place, the one who was whole and complete on her own. Conclusion and reflection. Absence doesn't have to weaken desire. It can illuminate it. But this happens only when absence is intentional, conscious, and rooted in self-respect. When we use this time to cultivate our own sense of self, we are not creating a void, we are creating a space for authentic desire to grow. This is not a strategy to get him back. It's a practice of self-love that makes you more magnetic, more whole, and more desirable. So ask yourself, where did I first learn that my worth was tied to constant presence? What would it feel like to create space without fear, to love without losing yourself? Maybe the most radical thing you can do is to step back when you want to cling and to show up for yourself when you feel the pull to give everything away. This is a journey toward profound emotional integrity. It's about understanding that your value isn't something to be proven through proximity, but a truth that exists in your very being. When you embrace this truth, your entire energy shifts. You become a source of light, not a drain of neediness. The space you create is not a punishment for your partner, but a sacred container for your own growth. And in that container, you will find a strength you never knew you had. If this stirred something in you, remember to subscribe to Love Loops. We're not here to fix you. We're here to remember who you are. Have you tried stepping back to create space? What happened? Comment below. Your experience might help someone else understand this invisible dynamic. In our next episode, we'll explore why certain words, gestures, and subtle signals ignite desire even before he consciously realizes it.